Planet Watchers, welcome to Gemini. Hey,
Hello, we're off and running. How are you all? Hope you're well.
Miss. We're gearing up for Memorial Day weekend this weekend. So it's like the official launch of summer in the States. Soon.
Good,
Yes.
good. Yes.
Yeah, wear your whites and drink gin and tonics and
All that fun stuff.
all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and it is fun too. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh yeah, me too, me too. And before we hit record, we were talking about all the rain that has been coming through. This is just biblical almost.
Yeah, it's been pretty rainy around here the last 3 or 4 days. So
Oh,
yeah, we're getting away from it, but it's taking its sweet time to turn into summer out.
it's true. Yeah, it doesn't feel much like summer right now. So
No,
we'll
no.
see about that. Before we get too much further, I would like to remind all of our listeners that I've got a book coming out.
There you are.
Real life angel encounters. Real people share real stories of miraculous encounters. And this
That's exciting
it
stuff. That
is
is exciting stuff.
exciting. It is available for pre-order on Amazon.com and Barnes and Noble, plus any other independent bookstores, but I will put a link in the show notes when I put them up on YouTube. Anyway, I just wanted to get that plug in. Have you ordered your book? Have you
Oh yeah, you can get my book.
Design? Yes, Mary Jane's book is Desire and Design. Now that's been out a few years, but you can get that at radiatewellnesscommunity.com/shop. On the shop
Sure.
about Venus and Mars. Venus rules our desires and Mars rules our actions, and there are designs about going about the actions.
Exactly, exactly. And fun stuff too. Very helpful for individuals trying to figure out how and why they're doing what they're doing. And there's a lot of history. There are a lot of famous charts, famous personalities with their Venus and Mars going through the sign and why they did what they did and how they did what they did. And it's a fun read too for an astrology book, which is often kind of dry, but this one is enjoyable. I think you'll like it.
Think it's enjoyable. And it's not just astrology, though. There's also tarot in there just to show what these ideas feel like. Plus art,
Sure.
lots
Yeah.
of art.
Exactly. It's highly illustrated anyway. And for some of the planets and some of the signs, I've used a reference to the tarot cards that I personally love, the tarot or the Marseille, and the parallels that exist between astrology and tarot, basically about the basic energies, in fact, that are involved. So yeah, there's a bit of that in there too.
Absolutely. So get these books and add them to your bookshelf. You won't regret it.
No, definitely.
So we're on for Gemini 2025.
Right, exactly. The sun is entering the sign of Gemini today, the 20th of May, when we're recording. And it looks pretty good, especially the first part of this period. From now until the 27th or so, this is going to be a really easy time to work with, and I hope you'll be involved. Let's talk about the big picture. Yeah, Pluto is still sitting where it's been sitting all this time in the beginning of Aquarius in a holding pattern. It's not doing anything terrible, except right now in this particular week, 2 weeks, it's in square to the Black Moon and to Vesta. Now we're going to see with Pluto kind of leaning on Vesta, especially some domestic problems, especially for the fixed signs, that is to say Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus, are going to feel a lot of domestic stress, things that have to be talked out, things that have to be worked out. This can also touch upon redesigning your kitchen, for instance. Vesta is home and hearth, and Pluto that's getting in the way of these designing patterns, renovation patterns, can set things back for you quite a bit. This particular, give it a couple of weeks before you want to get involved. Otherwise, Pluto is looking actually fairly normal this month. I kind of like it after the 24th. And then through the period of the beginning, now these couple of weeks into Gemini, start very nicely as the moon comes into a prop and the sun, the moon and Mercury are going to come into a very nice alignment with Pluto these first 2 weeks. What's involved here? Anything to do with creativity. We're going to use your voice in public speaking, in speaking out and getting personal work done, things that you have to convey, that you have to make understood. This is a very good period to be doing all of these power plays, actually, and
Ah,
especially in communications. Yeah, the moon will be present at the same time on the 26th of May. So this first couple of weeks in the period of Gemini are going to be very, very useful. I've got some good moon dates here for us. We'll put them up: the 21st, the 26th, the 31st of May, and also the 4th and the 9th, the 14th and the 19th of June. The moon is in a very good position to be helping out in these different projects we might have going. Now, there's one month, there's 1 week in here. We're going to count from the 5th until the 12th of June. That is not wonderful for, travel. Your car needs a checkup. This is going to be where you see the black hole in your travel plans. Also, in certain communications, they're going to be compromised in that particular week, especially
now
as the
which,
same. Sorry,
which week is this again?
from the 5th until the 12th of June.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm having a public screening, a world premiere of an episode that I'm in. It's a documentary series and it's June 14. So I really want everything to go great for that.
Should be fine. Should be fine. This
Right.
really has more to do with, I'm going to say, putting one's personality over, getting out and having power over people, over situations. Pluto is going in a very nasty kind of a square, a sesquic square actually, to the sun, so that we can't do what we think we need to do or what we think we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And in that particular week, from the 5th to the 12th of June, I'm saying be careful in where you want to go, how you want to get there, and with whom you think you need to be dealing. Because communications aren't wonderful in there either.
Right.
It's not a great week monetarily. We'll see a little later in talking about Venus, who's being a real nasty little girl this month, I must say. Anyway, she's not helping at all as far as financial dealings. And that particular week with Pluto, again, leaning on our best laid plans, it's not a great time to be buying and selling and all of those things that we tend to want to do at this period.
So, earlier you mentioned the dark moon. For those
Yes,
who are not familiar with the dark moon.
the black moon, actually, it's called.
Yeah.
Black moon is a non-existent point in the sky that has everything to do with the very irregular elliptic of the moon around the Earth. It's not a perfect circle. It's a rather oval kind of an affair, and the black moon talks to us about where the moon isn't, if you will, in talking about the elliptic. It's the shadow that the moon would be casting in the middle of this elliptic. The black moon is also called Lilith. If you go back to the Talmud, you'll read a lot about Lilith, who was the first wife, the first partner of Adam. Very strong feminist. She wasn't having any of this lesser being talk that God was putting out at the time that Eve had to put up with. She said, none of this. I'm an equal partner in this affair. And she had a lot of trouble, obviously, with this position. Anyway, she's come away as being sort of a witchy figure in the Talmud, was chased out of paradise. I'll let you read the story. It's a very interesting story, very important for us, because she comes to be important in initiation, in our sexual initiation, in our sexual being, in our feminism and our independence. Extremely important, but her job in our astrological study seems to be one of initiation. And she tends to make us go through keyholes, literally, to learn something out of our experiences. So here, her appearance here with Vesta has everything to do with home and hearth. Are we comfortable in our home and hearth? Are we comfortable with our partner? Are we comfortable in our physical surroundings? And something probably needs to be changed. So that's what Lilith is about. She is a fascinating character. I suggest doing some serious reading on Lilith. This is the Black Moon. And yeah, she has a lot to tell us.
Of course, there's the Lilith Fair, which is a all-female rock festival.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of a big deal, the Lilith Fair. And then, of course, Lilith does not appear in the Bible.
Well, not in the official Bible. No, no, indeed not. We have to go back to the Talmud to find anything about Lilith. The Hebrew scholars know a lot about Lilith and tend to sort of fear her. She has a very bad reputation, of course, being the first feminist. That, they have to get used to it.
So back to Gemini.
Right.
What else do we need to know about this time?
Well, Saturn and Neptune are doing a number as well. They're both in, again, another critical alignment with Mars, which means that, to my thinking, with the moon visiting on the 31st of May, that we're going to see thwarted peace plans. As soon as we're touching Saturn, Mars, we're still talking about these ridiculous wars that are going on and on and on. And the complication with Neptune is that neither side can step down. Neither side can give up their power position from pure arrogance, from pure stubbornness. And it just makes for a situation that's extremely difficult to reckon with and to argue with. So peace plans that keep starting and keep starting and keep starting are constantly being sent back to the drawing board. Nobody wants to give up. Even more plans are badly botched. We're going to see such sloppiness on the ground that maybe this will help on the long term. I don't know. It's hard to count on that, though.
It's incredible that these wars have been going on this long, but that's too bad that, we've got more of the same coming up.
More of the same. And Uranus then is also in a fixed T-square with Pallas Athena and with Juno. And then they're both square all month long, too. Uranus square to Mars, I find particularly explosive. So we're going to see a great deal of global and personal, legal and moral battles going on in our own lives, with Uranus making shocks to Mars. Legal battles, litigation going on, legal struggles are going to just be extremely difficult to garner, to keep corralled this month. And I don't know where that's going, but it's not helping it a great deal. Now, Saturn, at the same time that it's making kind of a mess with Mars, may help to stabilize these situations in a very nice sextiles going on from Uranus again and to Pluto, saying, look, guys, let's put a lid on this. Let's keep calm. We'll get around to the territorial discussions when everyone's a bit better settled. This first week of the 20th to the 27th may be better than the other weeks. However, just from the lunar position, but the sextiles are nice and could be useful again in sort of calming the activity and the various discussions and helping to fix boundaries, what we can expect, what we can legally and morally expect from the other guy. Now, this is true in all of our situations on a personal level as well. It's time to sit down, be calm, and really weigh and measure the possibilities. Find that consensus, find that middle ground. This is what Saturn does the best when he's doing anything at all. Very useful. We've got some good dates in there, good moons on the 22nd, on the 26th, and the 30th of May. Also the 4th of June. So this is time to be discussing things logically, calmly, rationally, in an adult fashion, which would be a huge relief, I think. It's time probably to talk about Venus As I said, she's being a very nasty little girl all month long. She's again in a holding pattern in a half square to the sun all month long. They're traveling together, but in this very conflictual attitude. And even through the sign changes, they'll both be changing signs at the end of the month. And it doesn't get better. What goes on? Venus now is in Aries in this semi-square to the sun. In this position, Aries to Gemini, she's feeling bitchy. She's complaining all the time. Nobody loves me. Why aren't you paying attention to me? An egotist is someone who doesn't pay attention to me. And this is what she's doing to people around her these days. As Venus moves into Taurus, then later, and the sun finally goes into Cancer, we're going to see the same thing, but with this note of jealousy. You love him more than you love me. You love her more than you love me. This could touch on to family matters as well. And it's very ugly with that in mind. There's some very bad, difficult times in here from the 6th to the 7th of June and also the 14th of June. This same Venus is opposite to our famous black moon. And so everyone's against her. She has to go through these terrible ordeals with everyone around her and just not understanding that maybe some of this is her fault. On the 16th of June, the moon chimes in and is making a square to Pluto. So from the 13th to the 17th of June, we're looking for very rough seas in romantic relationships and in money handling relationships. Careful where you're putting your mouth and where you're putting your cash. Especially as Mars is rather being nice all this time with Venus. They're in a nice trine like this until the 7th of June. But Venus is just kind of walking all over him and not paying any attention to his groveling, basically. He's trying to be such a nice guy. He's the lover who comes up with the flowers and she throws them in the wastebasket, this kind of going on. So, yeah, it's not nice. There's a nasty moon there on the 31st of May as well.
Oh, goodness. When you say a nasty moon, can you elaborate a little bit?
Well, yes, for instance, we have this square from Venus to Pluto that's happening on the 16th. Now, when the moon touches on one of these elements, either coming over, I think she's coming over Venus at that, when it comes over one of these elements, she just sort of sets off the passions, We know that the moon is responsible for our emotional responses. And so when we've got the moon and Venus square to Pluto, well, this is one very jealous Venus and needs a lot of attention, needs a lot of spanking, basically. But probably won't get that either. So that's what I mean when these moons are in a not helpful position. They can be, in fact, quite harmful. The moon will tend to create, especially with this Venus-Pluto situation, he creates very high excitation, very high legal complications as well. Dealing with, we also have Mars and Pallas Athena checking in, with Uranus checking in all month long. And so we could see what I am looking at sort of illegal situation. This can be the married lover. This can be the person who's getting out of a terrible divorce. This can be a new relationship that is very badly based on either money concerns or other emotional triangles going on. So it's not a comfortable place to be with this, especially with the moon visiting there on the 8th and the 15th and the 22nd of June, just to wind things up here in this period of Gemini. So that's why I'm saying take advantage of this first week. It's a nice one. It's particularly useful. And things will tend to, with a few nice dates in between, it looks a little rocky to be doing anything with personalities, with people in our surroundings that we're not being particularly generous with.
So, as with any period that we've been discussing, like since the beginning of this series, there's good dates and bad days, there's highs and lows. It's very rare that there's a period coming up that everything's going to be smooth sailing, and very rare that everything's going to be rocky roads.
True enough. And let's never forget that these announcements are more or less global. They're involving all of us. You must look at your chart, see where these positions are, see where the sensitive points are to know to what extent you're involved directly with these movements. It's critical. This is astrology. This is what it's for.
That's just it. And that is a very important point that, this is just very, very general. We need to know where each of our planets are and how that affects us. These reports are broad and they will affect a great number of people, but there are some refinements there that we must know from our own charts. And the only way to know that is by having your chart drawn up by an astrologer.
Glad to see you.
So to get your chart drawn up by Mary Jane, go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/appointments and schedule a natal chart. The natal chart is the chart that shows where all the planets are when you were born. So very, very, very helpful.
Right. Will be very helpful. And I would love to see you in consultation. Of course, we can do that distance. I'd love to see you face to face, but any face anywhere will do. And we can talk in depth about your person, your natal chart. This is so important to self-understanding, to see where you're coming from, where you're going, how you've come this far. Are there things to do better? Are there things to let go? Are there things that we need to take care of on a very adult basis? The chart's always talking about a newborn baby, but we've got to help this newborn baby develop. And it's through the understanding of the possibilities and the traps that are involved in a natal chart that, in fact, we're going to see this child open up and we can follow. It's never too late. Never.
That's absolutely right. And then where these planets and other bodies are located when we are born, they come back around too. And that is the solar return when it comes back around. But we can look in at the chart at any time and see where the planets are and how they affect us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we see so often every day, to what extent that not only the solar return, but also all of the planets are in aspect to themselves, in aspect to their natal positions. These key places in our lives are extremely important and can show us when we are in power positions, when we can expect to finally get that breakthrough, to finally get that job, to finally get something off the ground that we've been waiting for a long time. This is really the beauty of astrology, is watching the cycles open and act with each other. It's like a fine Swiss watch, if I may make a publicity plug. It's like a fine Swiss watch that's highly, highly ready to show us what's coming up, not only what's happened, but what's going to happen and when.
Agreed. So this is essential to understanding ourselves and what's going on around us. Anything else we need to know about Gemini, Mary Jane?
I don't think so. I hope you all have a wonderful time. It's, as I say, especially this first month in Gemini is wonderful for all the diplomas and the graduations and travel to see friends and the things that are going on in that respect. So I hope you all have a wonderful time doing it.
Oh, my goodness. We have been busy with that.
I guess. Speaking from personal experience in here.
Yes, absolutely. So wonderful. Well, we will get together and do this again in Cancer.
We shall indeed.
Summer. Yeah. Until then, everybody have a wonderful solstice and, a wonderful start to the summer. Go jump in some water somewhere and just swim or paddle around and have a barbecue.
Be a great fun.
Yeah. See you then.
See you then.